Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of My Take on China, and please don't forget to share. I am being suppressed. It's no secret that I live in Guangdong, and I am a big fan of the things that happen in the GBA. I live in Zhongshan. It's a small city, and in terms of GDP, one of the smallest in the Greater Bay Area, with only 363 billion, equating to about 82,000 RMB per capita. The smallest is Macau, which has a relatively tiny population, just over 500,000, but a much higher per capita GDP. The city of Zhaoqing is 3 times the size of Zhongshan, but has slightly less people and a smaller GDP overall and in per capita terms. But let me put Zhongshan, my city, into perspective. With a population of over 4 million, it's considered a small city in China. It has a per capita GDP of around $12,000. Now, the poorest state in USA is Mississippi, which in 2021 had a per capita GDP of 42,000. So it's clear there's more work to be done. The GBA is without a doubt China's most important economic region. On its own, it accounts for 5% of all global trade, and it has an overall GDP of 1.9 trillion, which would rank it at number 9 or 10 in the global rankings of the world, according to Wikipedia, if it was a country. But with a population of almost 86 million, that puts the GBA at about the same population as Turkey, the 19th largest country. And while I acknowledge that GDP is not a good measure of a region's success, it is fair to say that PPP is far more important. This is another indication that despite forecasts of robust growth, the per capita GDP is going to take many more years and a lot of work to reach the heights of the USA's per capita. We often see reports on the coming collapse of China, and I've made several other videos debunking these so-called experts who have opinions, or the stenographic employees of media groups who like to call themselves journalists but insist on just regurgitating and amplifying the collapse theories. Once again, I'm going to explain why the truth is a very different but complex situation. Some famous anti-China publications, such as The Economist, might suggest, as they did, that foreign investment is pouring out of China. It may be true, but it's misleading. Although there is some element of truth, there's always some. There are some companies, especially in the semiconductor industry, that have been forced to leave China. Not a choice. And this news is not as bad as the economists would like us to believe. Real expert analysis, not the kind we read in sensationalist headlines, tell a very different story. There is an interest rate imbalance globally. Most of the Western world have higher interest rates than China. So most Western companies which are invested in China are remitting their profits back to their home countries or somewhere else rather than putting them into the bank in China. Even the BBC admitted this was the case, albeit that they interpreted and reported it very negatively and differently. And if we think about it, it makes sense. Foreign companies are not relocating from China. They dare not do that. They're just sending their money home where it can earn more interest for them. Furthermore, to add more confidence to the reality rather than listen to the media, we should look at what the investors are doing rather than what the editors would like us to think they are doing. Earlier this month, 2 conferences took place in the GBA. One was the Global Investment Conference for Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area in Guangzhou, and the other was the Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit in Hong Kong. At the GBA conference, 859 investment deals were signed with a total value of over 2.24 trillion RMB. That's over 300 billion US dollars. 2023 won't be any different. And it isn't just European business leaders coming here. They want to invest. But it's US leaders too. Despite the restrictions, despite the hardships of doing business, and despite the political pressure amplified by a hostile media, the world's business leaders know If they aren't in China, they aren't in business. And if they aren't in the GBA, they really aren't in China.